Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I am here in the spirit of a sacred soul session. However, I have no idea where this is going. I was out and about today at a birthday party that kind of extended into an after party with an old friend and on and on and on. And it was a magnificent day of which I'm just now getting in, and I had no anticipation of coming in so late, but it was a well needed experience and energetic exchange. Nonetheless, I didn't want to miss my own commitment here in this space as I am very, that I feel so connected to, to keep up, devoted to, dare I say. And I was kind of pacing around as I was preparing myself to be in this space as to what I feel guided to talk about. And I really don't know, but my cards were already on the table, and I feel the spirit may have something to just purge through, surge through, dare I say, and we'll just see what it is. So yeah, I have my cards here. I will say that throughout my experience today, as I was connecting with other human beings and just having kind of casual conversation, there seemed to be a general sentiment of an anticipation of something next, and it's one thing, for me to speak that in different readings as it comes up in the cards, but then it's another thing to really encounter others in real time in their own unique ways, living in that anticipation, and not an anxiousness, not so much, well, maybe some a cross between the two, a hybrid of the two, but more so anticipation, and I would even say anxiety, definitely more in the higher vibrational, like almost an excitement for something new or to express themselves in some new way, to kind of break out in a sense to a space of security and stability in one regard or another. And all walks of life of people I encounter today in education and in the legal system and the judicial system and tech, in the tech world, it's just like there's a bit of a humdrum or a white noise, I guess I would say, about what the next channel of expression gets to be. Like what are we tuning into next? So I find that really interesting, comforting in some way, shape, or form, but definitely interesting nonetheless, that in fact it's just a universal experience at this time. There's definitely something that is brewing, beneath the surface, and it seems to me, at least from my experiences, that there's a great expectation for it, and it doesn't seem like anybody in particular has their finger on the pulse of exactly what it is, but it's just a knowing that it is happening, or it is coming, or it is due, in one way, shape, or form. Like even in terms of place and location, being ready to move, or having moved in a new place and finding a grounding and settlement with that. So I guess to start, I will say that just in my little old life today, I had that evidence in real time, of what's been probably a universal experience, by way of the messages that I've been bringing. So to you, if you can relate to that in any regard, just know that you're not alone. And sometimes that's more of a novelty to say than perhaps a comfort, but I hope that it transmits as a comfort for your own, for you to be content with exactly where you are, for you to absolutely be content knowing that all things are working for your good in some way, shape, or form. I was having a conversation with a friend today about her own anticipations and eagernesses in her job, and she made reference to, you know, the anxiety of of feeling like you are trying to build the plane while you're flying it, And we had this amazing dialogue about that. And what we settled on is that, who said that you had to be the engineer of the plane? You're the pilot. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to try to wear so many hats. You don't have to try to build the plane, gas it up, fuel it up, be the stewardess and the air traffic control, and the gate agent. You are just the pilot, and by I mean just very I use it almost too loosely, because as we know, the vessel doesn't get off the ground without you at that wheel. And then it spun into another aspect of that conversation, as I remember a moment on a movie that I watched. I think it's called Friends with Benefits, with Justin Timberlake and another one of my favorite actresses, but I can't remember her name now, and I couldn't remember it then. And I was making reference to the point in the movie where he just keeps saying, well, these planes practically fly themselves. Like the pilot is just sitting at the wheel. He kept saying that for some reason. But when we were having this conversation about flying the plane and, feeling like you're building it and flying it at the same time and all this and that idea, kind of came to mind that autopilot is a thing. The pilot surely is there to navigate in real time and to take over as needed. But even in the comedy of that expression in the movie, that's the reality of it, is that it's almost equipped to fly itself. You know what I mean? Like it's you put in the destination and you get it up out the air, but ultimately it's gliding not only just from the mechanics and the aerodynamics of the vessel itself, but also by way of the technology that is literally keeping itself afloat. And all you really got to do is just kind of man the wheel, keep your eye on the skies, more or less. And I know you're catching what I'm putting down, as a lot of what I'm saying now wasn't necessarily what I said then, but for sure, it's transmitting quite clearly to me in this moment that perhaps the anxiety, the eagerness, as experienced today, as experienced myself in some regard, and in a different, unique way, and in multiple unique ways, and even through the messages and the readings lately, has been a matter of feeling like you have to think of everything, like you're keeping your mind on all the moving parts. And because we're at this great threshold of crossover, knowing it in our body and in our spirit, but not necessarily being keen as to what it may be, there is this propensity to not want to miss it, like, God forbid you take your eye off the skies, off that wheel for a second, and everything come crashing down. But truly there's comfort in knowing that there is a force that is governing this vessel, in some way, shape, or form, from beyond what is controllable unto it. That there is co-creativity, or dare I say, co-aviation going on, as it would be on an actual plane with the pilot and a co-pilot, that is making sure that everything stays at just the right altitude necessary to get to the destination that has been destined one way or another. You know, all we get to do, and I liken it to, you know, with us manning the wheel and keeping our eyes on the sky, is just keeping your perspective high, your expectations grounded and elevated at the same time, if you understand that notion. And not putting too much pressure on yourself to, you know, the pilot, more or less, they show up, they sit in the cockpit, and they you know, they take off. They say their little spiel over the speaker. They make sure the plane goes up properly. They make sure it lands safely, you know. But for the most part, they definitely aren't, you know, and not minimalizing the job of a pilot, of course, right? But when you think about it, it's like the stewardess are really putting in the work, you know, catering to us humans all over the plane. The pilot shows up in his fancy little uniform, jumps behind the wheel, and off we go, you know. And it's like, it almost feels, and the thought of that, really, in comparison to a vessel such as a plane, you know, that there's so much risk at stake, you know, just getting in the plane alone, let alone actually flying it. But yet and still, there are far more successful takeoffs and landings than there are actual crashes or tragedies or catastrophes of any sort. It's much more rare to hear about that than you actually do, according, you know, in light of the thousands, perhaps, of flights that happen day to day. So the odds are quite godly stacked in our favor, you know, to just allow ourselves to flow with whatever, you know, the destination may be. And in terms of keeping our eyes on the sky and on the road, just keeping your perspective about yourself as positive as you possibly can, you know. What I was saying is that the pilot, he comes in and he jumps behind the wheel, and that's that. They usually look pretty stressless, you know what I mean? Like they don't have to deal with the people. They don't have to deal with much, you know. They're in their little world in the cockpit. And again, as long as we get up safe and land safe, their job is done, you know? And it's like they're not putting the pressure on themselves to make sure that the attendants do their job, or the fuelers do their job, or the mechanics checked it for the day. You know, when they show up, they pretty much have the expectation that all is well and ready for them to take off. And it seems almost ridiculous to think that and a mindset or an energy such as that could translate to us in real time. But I feel like that's actually the call that we're being summoned to, you know what I mean, at this time, to just show up and do your part. Show up ready, prepared, with a positive mindset, the outlook, especially as such as a pilot whom, you know, this is what they do, and more than likely this is what they love to do. Usually most pilots at least like it, if not love it. And as long as there's alignment in that regard, and the experience is there, and the willingness and the heart and even the passion to boot, all you got to do is show up and be ready to be who you've already been called to be, you know. So we get to release some of the pressure, and in the conversations that I was having, particularly with my friend, it was a matter of trust, you know, about trusting yourself to be the woman, the man for the job, the position that you're in. Trusting that your vision is sound, you know, trusting that the steps that you're taking now in this moment are ordered in the fashion to make an imprint, an impact, leave an impact that matters, you know. And for most of us that have such a big heart to do more than just enough for today, it often is a struggle to let today be enough, you know, to take small steps today and allow them to accumulate to the measurement of what tomorrow may bring, you know. So I don't know, I just feel like I didn't know actually what I was going to talk about at all, but as it's coming through and flowing through by way of my experiences today, and reflectively so even here at this table, I just feel guided to say, you know, keep your eye to the sky. You're doing all right. Trust your instincts. Trust what you've always, it's like more or less you've been preparing for this, even in the ways that you didn't even know you were being prepared. You know, you have been led to this very moment in time through a series of small steps when you thought that you were just crawling, you know, and lo and behold, not only were you stepping, you actually might look up tomorrow and realize that all this time you've been flying. You know, who knew that you were actually soaring above your greatest expectations, even for yourself, perhaps even beyond what, if you can relate to it, the divine has held for you. You may have even surpassed that, unbeknownst to you. And so here you are putting pressure on yourself, feeling like excellence is not quite enough when you've even surpassed that by, you know, dividends on the excellence meter, you know. So, you know, keep doing what you're doing and allowing yourself to trust yourself with where you are now in that pilot seat and the co-pilot. And when I say co-pilot, you know, it literally is a co-creative experience. I'm not deferring spirit as the lesser force by calling it the co-pilot of your vessel. It is what it is, that the two exist in harmony and in unity, where perhaps one may need to take over for the other at any given time. That option is there. You know, that presence is possible. And it's no different as far as I perceive it, but you, of course, are welcome to your own understanding in terms of ourselves in the human form and the divine, of where we are the hands and the bodies and the vessels that the divine gets to work with and work through. And as open as we are, you know, to how that frequency wants to materialize, is as eager as it is to do so, you know, and even that alone lends you to a high power in the human form, because in the end, it's still, in the beginning and the end, it still is a matter of your decision and your will to allow that co-creativity, co-aviation to some degree to take place. So as much as you may perhaps feel in this moment of transition, perhaps even transformation to some degree, that your hands are a bit off the wheel and you really don't know which way the plane is flying, you know, or the ship is sailing or the car is driving, whatever your mode of transportation may be, you're still very much so in control, if nothing more, just by way of your devotion to a high-minded perspective of the road ahead, the journey ahead, the skies above, so to speak. So trust yourself, if nothing else. You know, it matters most in this moment. That was really a common theme today. That spirit of trust, and knowing that not only have you been doing a good job up until this point, but that even the divine trusts you in at this point of being open to more, as you don't feel the more, the coming of more, the doing of more, the possibility for more for no reason at all. It's like the warning sign, or the preparation, I would say, for you to know that yes, in fact, there is more, and you're about to embark upon it or receive it in whatever way that gets to be. You're feeling that eagerness, that anxiety, that excitement for a reason, that anticipation for a reason, so that you know to get prepared if you're not, and to stay prepared if you are already. So the last thing that you need to do is to worry about whether or not you're prepared to be prepared, because the warning sign that there is more is already the clear message that you're absolutely prepared. Just keep your mind focused for the reception. Okay? Anything more to say in that regard? Let's just see what's in this deck real quick. I just feel compelled. And look, this is what's coming through the air. And it's coming fast. It's coming fast. Messages, movement, power. Look at that. From the ethers into the stratosphere, into this earth realm, onto this earth plane itself. This is all that's been in anticipation. It's like you can feel it's my son and I were looking at some movies that we might want to watch, and one of them was Jurassic Park, the latest one. I haven't seen it, and neither has he. And one thing that stands out from those movies is, like, every time, T-Rex was coming, you would see, they would always show the vibration in the water or in the puddles, or, like you would always see the movement, the emergence happening before you actually saw the being, right? I don't know why, but I just got that visual, because I feel like that's the vibration that we're experiencing, not just on the earth plane and in the things that are kind of moving and shaking around us, but also actually in our bodies. It's like a pulsating that's happening, like a woo, 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 woo. A vibration that seems to be intensifying, right? Yes, that's the message. And if we take it in the Jurassic Park sense, it was almost like a warning, like, uh-oh, it's coming. But for us that have ultimately been calling in excitement, adventure, experience in ways that we've never had before, it gets to be just that. It's not a warning, it's a welcome. Welcome to the threshold of your new life. Perhaps your new you altogether. You are the T-Rex. That big energy and it's coming from an internal space. I would say, even being we are the ones that's like magnetizing this energetic force from an ethereal presence into the earth because of our will to adjust our frequencies to be receptive to it and of it. So it's like you are the one you've been waiting on, and it is almost a bit astounding, when you see that T-Rex pierce through, tear through the screen for the first time in the movie. It is an astounding presence because that's just how magnificent you are, even unto yourself, that it makes you nervous perhaps to even imagine that all you have idealized for yourself quite actually is coming into fruition, perhaps right even before your eyes, right at your fingertips, right under your feet, right in your own hometown. That you are that force that is just unstoppable and beyond concept of, the imagination to conceive of, bigger than life to some degree. That is you. That is you. Let's just see what this is. Yeah, and it's like, this is you in a small spiritual form, small, right? Looking into that cup as if I did that. Like, I pulled that fish out of that cup. Where did that fish come from? Did I do that? It's like, where is this magic coming from? And look, like I said, it's like I could flip-flop these easily and it would still make all the sense in the world. But either way you splice it, it's because of you being a yes to this spiritual journey, this energetic expedition of sorts, whatever it may be, that the source and the force has no choice but to kind of catch up to meet you where you are, So don't be surprised when you see that reflection of yourself and it looks like something much grander, because the Page of Cups is like, it's one of the smaller aspects of the suits, it's especially in terms of the spiritual energy with the cups. And it's like this magnification of energy that's being pulled down or pulled in is only the reflection of what's been inside all along. So yes, it is an astounding presence when you actually see the reality of all of the potential energy that you possess. Revel in it. Revel in it. Allow yourself to fully accept it as you and for you. And I can't get over the fact that this was the air that I've been speaking of whole time. You've been flying the plane on the ground for lifetimes, at least decades, at least years. It's like second nature to you. Little did you know, little did you realize, because you didn't realize that the ways in which you were staying focused and ambitious and devoted and as pure and righteous as possible, even in the midst of so much corruption and destruction and distraction. You didn't realize your aviation skills to kind of avoid catastrophe and tragedy, even just waking up to go to the store or go to work or, take care of your responsibilities day to day. but you've been dodging, all types of forces on land since you got here, quite honestly. You've been doing it since you pierced this realm as a young child. Back to that Page of Cups, and you're prepared to now take it to another level with that same skill and even more agility, as a matter of fact, and even more support for the journey. And it's just as natural as it has been to navigate your starship on land. Once you take off, you know how at first that jitter, if you're like me, there's a jitter for the takeoff, right? It's a little bit rocky. It's a little bit, oh, we all right? I don't know. And then you feel that pressure start to release as you feel it build up, and then you feel it release as the plane levels out. And that's exactly the trajectory that we're on. The pressure is the takeoff. Feeling our ascension, feeling that something's happening. We're going somewhere. We're definitely not where we left off. Not where we were yesterday. Certainly not last year. Something completely new is transpiring in our beings now. We're ascending. And allow yourself that moment of ascension to get to the height, the altitude where you can meet the divine in such a way that the vessel damn near flies itself. All you'll have to do is just keep your eyes on the skies and your hands on the wheel. The will being your will to keep moving forward no matter what. All right, so I'm going to leave it there because I really didn't have much to say, and I feel like that's just enough for a sacred soul session. I hope you found some value in it. I certainly did in my experience today, so I'm so grateful to everyone that I encountered, to the point of the pressures to do a thing, especially the way you feel it should be done, like almost wanted to control the vessel to some degree, when we are certainly co-pilots, in these beautiful blue skies. I was a little bit anxious when I had the invitation to extend my day out today. I'm like, oh man, but thinking to myself, I don't have anything prepared for later, and if I'm out here, living my best life, then what happens when I get home? And in my head I wanted to write something because I feel comfortable doing that. And then I got in here and I still was like thoughtful about, well, what, where, what, how, what do I say? Should I even, do I even is there even a message? Which of course there's always a message if you're open to receive it. But what I needed most was that quality time, that fun, that leisure, that exchange of energy with like-minded people, confirmation that came to me in the most unsuspecting ways about my own experiences, and people that are in completely different paths, on different paths and trajectories than I am, but still sharing a common thread, and again, if I had snatched the wheel and made it my own journey, I probably would have just come straight home and, went back to business as usual. But in fact, it's exactly what I needed, was to be out and about, enjoying myself and exchanging energy in ways that even I hadn't even really realized I needed to. So it's like, even in those small ways that the spirit wants to speak and perhaps even take the wheel to some degree, is just as important, if not more so, as a matter of fact, as your best intentions, your best plan, your best program. Like I have it all mapped out as to what my idea gets to be, the destination, and the way to get there. And every now and again, even in commercial flights, sometimes you gotta have an emergency landing. And I feel like that was the urgency in my spirit, what my spirit was calling for. The co-pilot of this here vessel was calling for me to have that energetic exchange in a way that's truly elevating, that is aiding in my ascension and supporting it in ways that, you just can't beat. Because as much as we want to be out here doing it on our own, nothing can replace the value of human connection in spirit and in truth, when it is indeed, in the most high vibrational sense, in spirit and in truth. And that's the only way it's high vibrational, if it in fact is in spirit and in truth, in tandem. So I'm very grateful to those relationships that I do still yet have, and I encourage you, especially as we're approaching that full moon energy, just late tonight, around 4 something tonight, early tomorrow morning, that anything that doesn't look like that, that you don't feel energized from by the end of the exchange or the end of the experience, or by the time you leave that place or space or person has departed from you or disconnected from you, that you take this time in this transit to release those things that are not supporting your highest altitude, that are not that you wouldn't trust as a co-pilot on your journey if you needed to take your hand off the wheel for a second, your eye off the sky for a minute. If the trust is not there in those places and spaces and people and things, then those are the first points of consideration for release during this time, especially beyond any others. And given that Mercury retrograde is right around the corner, we're in pre-shadow by the 25th, you can also consider that some perhaps previous co-pilots may be coming back to, especially during the holiday season. Then you might get a visit or a call or invitation from someone from the past, and don't let the nostalgia fool you. If you don't have a recollection of good memories, good vibrations in that exchange, don't be too over, don't have such a high expectation for that to have changed drastically now, unless your spirit absolutely points to that possibility. There are people that have been disconnected from or with good reason at this point, and if there wasn't a great impression left before time, I wouldn't hold high hopes and much regard that it has changed for the present or for the future. I pray that the cultivation of relationships and experiences, habits, hopes, dreams, whatever activities, locations, whatever it is that the embarkment may be, that it be engaged in the way, as I've said, that would be supportive of you reaching your most supreme self, or at least helping you along that climb and along that journey. Everything else you can unapologetically release with love and with grace, indeed. Grace and gratitude at that. But please do not hesitate to lighten your load so that you can go as high as the divine is calling you in this time. All right, so in the meantime, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your Sunday, if this is still Sunday when you see it, and have a magnificent start of the week. Indeed, let it be prosperous and productive in all the most passionate and peaceful ways possible. In spirit and in truth, all right? Remember that there is a full moon tonight, so as you're going back into the hustle and bustle of the week, take it easy, ground your energy, protect your energy. Remember, everybody is experiencing this transit in their own unique way, but certainly do all that you get to do, especially in places and spaces that are kind of obligatory. You don't really have a choice but to go into the office or wherever it is you're heading out and about to tomorrow. Just be mindful of protecting your energy in a way that you don't put yourself in any position to be triggered unnecessarily. You know, do something throughout the day tomorrow that keeps your spirits high, that recharges you if you feel depleted in any way, or if you get an opportunity to rest, perhaps even once the day is done. Most certainly, please take it without a second thought. Get you some sleep, or just do something that is relaxing to the senses and allows you to release the energetic buildup of the day. And that's whether you're home or out, but certainly if you're out and about, okay? Be kind and gentle to yourself as well as to others. All right? Have a wonderful evening, a blessed new moon indeed, and a blissful week ahead. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.